Hi Lazaro. So, in addition to answering your questions, I thought I'd make you this video about caregiving for someone with dementia, as it's quite interesting uh, and it's quite shocking. So, one of the big things I notice is that friends and family disappear, which is surprising. People either run to a fight or they run away from a fight. And I've joined a caregiving support group and discovered that this is an incredibly common pattern. Family will make it harder. They'll disappear. They'll accuse you of financial inappropriateness. They won't help. When they do show up, they're more of a burden. Now, I personally thought it was just unique to my family, but since joining a caregiving group, it's common to almost all caregivers. As soon as someone steps up to the plate, the other people disappear. All the while, they insist on regular financial reports and other activities. Fortunately, when you're power of attorney, you have total leeway to take action in the safekeeping of your parents' accounts. And a good lawyer was able to advise me and say, don't worry about what they say, just do your job. However, there's still a lot of stress with that, and family make it harder. There's no financial support from the government at all. I don't get, there's a disability tax credit, but because I don't have an income, like I do some work, but 90% of my day is spent with helping my mother, I can't have an income. So other than a tax break, which is useless if you don't make any money, there's no other financial support from government or Revenue Canada. There's also no health services unless you become bedridden. You do not get health services. They try to pretend. You got to harass them for it, and they often send it at times you don't need it. And the personnel are so sketchy that you never get a good person. You get someone who's doing it as a side business because health care services are such high demand right now. So sort of covered that from Revenue Canada. But even writing your MP, your Member of Parliament, and other people doesn't do any good. There's a huge number of caregivers in this country, and yet there's almost no infrastructure to support them other than information packages and a lot of talk. There's also no skill development as I'm caregiving. Over the last 5 years, I've had no abilities to improve my skills. I've had no ability to really expand my work or clients. So as not only do you lose your work, but you're losing, you know, you're not just losing 5 years of savings, you're losing 5 years of career growth. So that's 5 years of pension loss and 5 years of other loss. In addition to that, as my mother's abilities have declined, I've had to grow my caregiving abilities. So it started off with just running errands, cooking, making sure pills were up to date, pharmacies, doctor's visits. A lot, but still it was all pretty basic, doing taxes and finances, things that you would expect anyone to be able to do who's helping out. But every year the demands, every month really, the demands go higher and higher as my mom's abilities decline. I have to become very good at blood pressure, heart monitoring, breathing, as she suffers from COPD and other ailments. I have to make sure she gets regular blood work, which is especially tough during COVID. I have to keep a sharp eye on cuts as she's easily infected, so I've had to become very good at sterile dressing and how to dress wounds. I also have to keep a close eye on her as she'll do hazardous things. Now, in addition to that, the basics like nutrition, it helps if she's eating well, it helps if she exercises, and helps if she's stimulated beyond television. Television's horrible. You've got to do puzzles, walking, engagement, tough during COVID especially. But television and things like that is just horrible for them. Now, I'm lucky right now. My mother's probably stage 3. But I'm a part of a caregiving group where they describe horrific things. Some people suffer from tinnitus, which is a constant ringing in their ears. Some people suffer from hallucinations. They actually see people in the room with them. Some of them just let out screams. There's one caregiver I know whose mother just will scream for 2 hours straight. Well, these things add to your fatigue, they add to your frailness, and after a while, you can't really handle it. It gets incredibly difficult. And fatigue's a big one. There was a period there where I was being woken up in the middle of the night to go over finances. Things have gotten a bit better because of various medical support, but it returns. And the caregivers I've talked to, there's cases where one case where her father wandered out in the street and got hit by a car. Like they will wander off. And it's at that stage that you have to look into care homes the long facilities that really meant for dementia, which is very unique skill set. Nurses can't handle it in a normal long care home. For dementia, you have to do memory care, and that can cost upwards of $8,000 a month, $80,000 a year. So it's really not a cost-effective measure. Now, I believe I can make ends meet and get her in there, but even finding a good place is tough. Even these places, there's questionable activities. They're about profit, ultimately. You have to be very careful. I'd say the saddest thing I've learned is that this doesn't fall under the umbrella of our free healthcare, and it really should. There's so many caregivers doing all this work for free and getting nothing from it and falling behind in their lives, all the while getting stressed out and injured and ailed themselves. Something like 70% of caregivers suffer from burnout, depression, or some sort of ailment. Anyway, I hope this helps for your project, and I hope you do well. Be sure to check those questions as well. I've answered those. Take care.